Now, Know Your Zone is a new concept for our area just starting last year, but changing the way we do things is a good idea because our area's population is changing as well. Storm Team meteorologist Jessica Ryan explains.
Traffic has become a way of life along the Grand Strand, with all the residents growing here and the 14 million people who come to our shore annually. Navigating around the area in the summertime is nothing short of a headache. When a mandatory evacuation is issued, if you think you'll be able to get out of here in just a few hours, you're wrong. Horry County Emergency Manager Randy Webster didn't sugarcoat it when he told me evacuating will be a mess. Our coast is no stranger to hurricanes and tropical storms, but our population is continuing to grow. Hurricane Hazel hit in 1954 near Little River, killing 95 people. The storm surge was almost 17 feet, and damage was estimated to be $281 million. Fast forward to Hurricane Hugo in 1989. That made landfall just north of Charleston with a storm surge of 20 feet, killing 21 people and causing $7 billion in damage.
But overall, just the sheer numbers and the fact we haven't had any new roads in here in quite some time, and nothing really new on the horizon that's going to add to evacuation, getting people out of here. The numbers are just growing astronomically high, and that's a huge concern.
He's right. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates Horry County's population to be over 282,000, over 100,000 of which are in evacuation zones. When you add tourists into the mix, that means over 300 to 500,000 people will be evacuating the area all at the same time.
Since Hugo, Highway 22 and Highway 31 have been created, but 22 is an evacuation route, 31 is not. Outside of that, there's been some widening, Highway 544 and a little bit of that. But still, the capacity has been maxed out on that since Hugo.
Last year, the Horry County Emergency Management began its Know Your Zone campaign, breaking evacuation areas down into 3 zones, A, B, and C. Zone A is closest to the coast. Zone B is between Highway 17 Business and Bypass and an area west of 707. And Zone C is areas west of the 17 Bypass that are very susceptible to flooding from the Waccamaw River and the Intracoastal Waterway.
We've asked people at town hall meetings we've been at, and people are very fixated on the category of storm, and when you start talking about 3s, 4s, and 5s, they're like, I'm out of here for sure. But 1s and 2s, they have a tendency to want to stay behind, and that is turning into a very serious situation because the only reason we evacuate is storm surge, not the wind and not the rain. And we can see recently in events that even Category 1 storms can bring in huge storm surges, look like Sandy last year.
They will also ask you to take certain evacuation routes depending on where you live. The beachbound lanes of Highway 501 will reverse and head inland in 2 different sections. One is when 544 meets up with 501. That will go to Highway 378. Then those who were on 544 will go on to 378 to head inland. The second lane reversal is where Highway 22 meets 501. At that time, all lanes of 501 will go northbound all the way into Marion County, where the Highway 576-501 split is near the amphitheater. Some viewers contacted the storm team upset that there wasn't a lane reversal in the Carolina Forest area, but there's a good reason for that.
There are no other lane reversals, and the challenge you have with lane reversals is you still have to get inbound traffic taken care of. And as an example, in Conway, you still have to get people from the Conway side to Conway Hospital, beachbound, because all the traffic, all the roads going out of the beach are evacuation zones, or evacuation routes. So you still have to allow for people to get back in emergency vehicles. People are still living in the area that are not in the evacuation zone, like most of Carolina Forest and those areas. So you still have to accommodate that.
If a mandatory evacuation was issued for just Zone A, that would take 15 hours with lane reversals, 26 hours without. If all 3 zones had to be evacuated, it would take 33 hours with lane reversals and about 40 hours without them. Webster says his worst fear when it comes to evacuating is people won't leave when they're asked to, and they'll find themselves stuck on the road at the last minute with rising water. So the bottom line is you need to know your evacuation zone, your evacuation route, and have an evacuation kit ready with food, water, clothing, as well as important documents. That way, when that mandatory evacuation order is issued, you can hit the road, hopefully, before everybody else does. In Horry County, I'm Storm Team Meteorologist Jessica Ryan.